Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, traders. Steve here at Logic FX Trading, and welcome to our trading room recording on Tuesday, the 27th of July, 2021. Let's just quick look at the economic calendar, guys. Durable goods orders, the United States, and CV consumer confidence, the United States. Let's see how they come out. Remember that tomorrow is Fed interest rate decision day, guys. They'll not move the interest rate tomorrow. We're kind of expecting that maybe this time next year. But obviously the market's always running ahead of when things actually happen. So trying to get in early, as it were. So there will be a lot of attention paid to the press conference, just to see if there's a change in hawkishness, if there's a slight drift towards hawkishness, which means that the whole process of tapering bond buying and then eventually increasing interest rates could come sooner rather than later. The main focus will be on what the Fed's attitude is towards the inflation rate. Are they going to continue to say that it's transitory? Some of it is transitory, people know that, but the market is kind of saying, well, we think that maybe the inflation rate's higher than what the Fed thinks it is. Although having said that, the bond yields have dropped, which I suppose would back that up, because that's more money going into bonds, into safety. And the yield drops, the more people want to take up the bonds, the amount of interest you get drops. Supply and demand. So we'll have to see what happens there. Obviously, if there's any hawkishness at all, then you could see a move up in the dollar, even though technically I'm looking for a drawdown in the dollar. But if they're hawkish at all, then you could see that dollar pushing up and possibly a drop in the stock markets, guys. So tomorrow's potentially a big day. We'll go over and look at the charts in a moment, but that's kind of what's on my mind. The other thing that's on my mind today is Tesla's posted their first $1 billion quarter profit, which it sounds great, guys, but the price of Tesla is ridiculous, and we'll cover individual stocks and how to go about evaluating them sometime soon, guys. I don't want to put a specific date on it, but we will start to cover those on a daily basis, individual stocks. And then the other big thing, this is probably more important, this is the reason I'm knocking that back a little bit, is the China crackdown, guys. If we look at the Chinese market over here, it dropped like a stone. We were looking for a little bit more drawdown on this because of this. I think that's probably it done, and I'll tell you why. What's actually happened here is that the Chinese government decided to crack down on the educational websites, because their attitude is that for the country to continue to grow, then education needs to be available for all, and therefore it needs to be free. Now, how you go about running a website and paying everybody and not making any money, I don't know how they work that, but nonetheless, that's the underlying sentiment. And as a result of that sentiment, a lot of money's been drawn out of Chinese stocks, because people are saying, well, this week it's education, what's it going to be next week? But I don't think that they're going to bring any new, well, they'll bring in new laws, obviously, but I don't think they want to attack their technology sector, guys, because it earns so much money for them. So I think this is probably oversold. Now, I'm not talking about the chart itself, but certainly if you go and you look at individual stocks in the Chinese market, surely there has to be some bargains after this drawdown, and the bargains will be possibly today. Can there be a bit more downside? There can be, but I think ultimately this chart will come back up, and as a result of that, or that will be a result of the individual stocks coming back up, guys. So this for me is oversold. We will see a reaction back up on a daily time scale. I'm not going to say it's going to come back up directly from there. It could well do. But today I'm going to be looking. Now I have Baidu, and I bought a little bit more Baidu yesterday, and it still went down. You know, I was caught out because initially we had that drop, and then we got that one yesterday. But I think if I hold on to Baidu, sorry, I probably pronounced it incorrectly. I think that it'll do okay for us. So let me just pause you a little second here, and we'll have a look. Okay, let's have a quick look over here on eToro. Trade the markets for stocks, and then we'll go by exchange, and hopefully there'll be Hong Kong, Zurich, Saudi Arabia, Nasdaq. Okay, Shanghai's not in there, guys, but we do have Hong Kong. So let's have a quick look at Hong Kong. And then, obviously, they're all numbers with HK behind them. But I'm going to run through these today and just have a look at the chart. You can see all the charts are down, guys. Well, nearly all. There's one. And have a look through these and do a little bit of due diligence on them and see if there's anything in there that I find attractive. And I may put a video out in that, guys. You can see that drawdown there yesterday. But overall, this hasn't dropped that much. I don't know what they are at the minute, guys. I don't even want to waste the time to start looking. I'm just doing this as an exercise to say to you guys, have a think about running through these. You know, there's how many? There's 134. So there's a few more than I thought. But I'll run through all of those today. And if there's anything I find interesting, I'll, you know, what we're going to do is go through them all, work out what they are, because I don't know the Hong Kong stock market. So it's not going to be a one-day task, guys, but I might find something of interest. And if I do, first of all, I'll go through the process that I'm doing there. And secondly, I'll highlight the stock that I've thought, well, I'm thinking of getting into that one. So that'll be a little separate video we'll do later today, guys. I'll just write that down so don't forget. Hong Kong analysis. Because there could be some opportunities in there, guys. This is Tectronic Industries. As I said, at the moment, I don't know what anything do. You don't want to be investing in anything that you don't know what the company does, guys. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be a simple task, but it's something to look at. But you can see even with this one yesterday, there was a massive drawdown on it, so they all dropped yesterday. But I think it's an oversold situation. Not necessarily that particular stock, but if we find some that have been drawn down. If we go and look at Baidu, well, Baidu's on the Nasdaq, but it's a Chinese stock, guys. So let's go and look at Baidu while we're here. Baidu. You can see there it's going to open slightly below where it closed yesterday, so we're not getting any relief from that today. And I wanted to do this separate video yesterday, but here we go. So the latest impulse up, we've retraced it. Let's call it 70%, guys. But this is kind of how it moves, in that if you go back, there's your first major impulse on it. And it corrected down 50%. This next one. Now there's a flash crash to 88, but we'll say in there, so call that 70%. And then with this one, where would you take that from? Say the 70 up. It's not really an impulse, guys. That bit's the impulse, but the move from the low to the high, we're just measuring here. And that one came 127 below. So that's not good. But I don't think we're going to do that next time. And then this time we're around 70. So it's had a good drawdown. Now, I'm not saying you jump in this today and then tomorrow or next week you're going to make, a fortune. But if you're going to dollar average down, and you buy it there, which is kind of what I've been doing. I think I bought it in there first and then there and then there. So my average is probably in there somewhere. So if you could see that coming back up again and you've bought in there on average, well, obviously there's a profit to be made. But it's about the timing of it as well. We'll have to see. Could there be more downside? Certainly there could. So it just draws you down. But remember, you haven't lost the money until you close the trade, guys. So it's just a few thoughts on what's going on in China at the minute, folks. And I think a lot of things have been oversold because of fears of, well, first of all, pressure that the West is putting on China. And secondly, because of the pressure that China's putting on China. So we'll have to see. You're not putting too big a percentage on this, guys. If you wanted to get into them, you maybe put 10% of the account into them. Same as you would do for gold or, anything like that. I'm just looking for a little bit of a boost outside the Nasdaq. And I know this one's in the Nasdaq, guys. Okay. So what else do I have to talk to you about? That's the main thing. Tesla. Sorry, let's just go back and have a look at Tesla. I have invested in it, so it should be here. Tesla. It's going to open up slightly today. Excuse me, folks. Just on a technical basis, you can see my problem with investing in Tesla, guys. Look. It's come back down to, call it 40%. Rarely do these things, just come down and then they're done. They often spend a bit of time. So if it were to come down to here somewhere, I might be interested in it. Okay, you've got to pick things up. I'm not saying it isn't a good company. I'm not saying it isn't making profit. What I'm saying is that there's a price to buy things at, and just like with anything, the profit you make is always in the price that you buy, guys. It isn't so much your selling price, it's your buying price, and that's certainly true for property. It's the price that you get the property at that determines how much profit you're going to make. Doesn't mean that if you pay the asking price that you can't make money on the house 3 or 4 or 5 years down the line, but if you pay less than the value of the house, then your pathway to profit not only is sooner, but also the amount of profit you can get out of it over the same time period would be, 10 or 15, maybe 20% more. So if you have that sort of mindset with stocks, it doesn't mean you're going to get it right all the time, doesn't mean that you're going to have the patience, but if you can build that mindset into your stock buying, guys, you're looking to buy things that are undervalued rather than overvalued. So then how do you know the value? Well, you've got to look at your price to earnings ratio. Just as one immediate indicator, guys. We're not saying this is the be all and end all. It's just one of the indicators, but it's a very easy thing to find. You just go into here and you go market cap, 633 billion, price to earnings ratio 658. So the market cap is 658 times the earnings. That's a big premium, guys. Now if it was 58, I'd probably be interested. And people say, oh well, that's because it's growing, but do you really want to be paying that much more for a company? In other words, you're paying now for what it's going to be worth in the future. Well, how does that work? And do you think that that growth is going to continue? No, this price to earnings ratio will drop, guys. Will drop. Okay, let's get on with it. Right. Enough of the wiffle waffle. Let's get on with things. Let's move that out. I don't know if you guys can see that or not. We're on the daily time scale here. Just continue to keep our eye on the yen, guys, to see if there's any opportunities, to see if it's going to drop. Remember, from here, we were looking for it to go long, but I was kind of hoping it would push on further up. Listen, it could still go long from here, but that would be determined by a move to safety. So let's keep that in mind. Nasdaq. That turned out to be a pretty good account, guys. Now, I'm not going to necessarily get it right for the next move, but that turned out to be a pretty good account of what happened. Remembering, for anyone that's new, that back here when we had this drawdown and it started to move long, what I did is went over here and I copied this and pasted it here just to say to people, listen, this is how I think this is going to move over the next month or so. How long was it actually? From in and around there. May, June, July. So it's a good 2 months, guys. Which basically said to us, trade the Nasdaq with confidence. The problem I have now is that that's run out. And I'm now saying, so, well, what's going to happen next? Listen, it's not necessarily going to do the exact thing again, but it certainly has come towards the top of the channel. And if we take it out to 4 hours, we have a better idea. Remember, we're always dealing with probabilities, guys. Anybody that tells you that they know exactly what's going to happen is telling you lies, okay? They're telling you lies. Nobody knows what's going to happen next. What we do is we gather all the information together as much as we can, and then we make an educated guess isn't really the right word, but forecast, an educated forecast of what we think is going to happen next. And then we keep an eye every day on what's actually happening to see if our forecast is coming true. And at that point, we make decisions about whether to trade it or not, or whether to get out. Okay, so I wouldn't be surprised if, particularly with tomorrow being Fed Day, the market gets a little bit of a scare tomorrow and we get a bit of a drawdown. Now, it is also possible that the market believes what the Fed says and the Fed kind of stays dovish, but I don't think that's highly probable. So I suspect that we'll get the start of a drawdown, possibly tomorrow, and it will look something like that, or like that, or like that, or like that, guys, which is going to be horrible. Which is going to be horrible because it's another period of time of battling against the tide, as it were, trying to limit your drawdown. But the other side of the coin is that once the drawdown's over, then if you've got cash left, or that you've maybe sold some things here, as you know, maybe did a little bit of profit taking, and if they did get down there, then you can start to pick up some bargains, guys. So we'll keep an eye on that, see how it goes. But that's what I'm kind of thinking may happen. So yet again, I'm a conservative trader, guys, and there's nothing, very little gun-ho about me. I'm just going to say nothing. Sometimes I'm a little gun-ho. By nature, I'm gun-ho, but I've been on the planet an awful long time, guys, and I'm learning not to be gun-ho. I've had it trained out of me. And the same with the Dow Jones. Now, the Dow Jones, if this is if it's going to continue in this channel, certainly looks like it could have a bit more upside to it, but it's not going to go the opposite direction of the Nasdaq. So if the Nasdaq draws down tomorrow, then you'll see something like that happening. And then we've got to determine, is that the start of a deeper correction, or is it just, is the market just running flat? S&P, same thing, put in a new all-time high yesterday. Let's zoom in a little bit. Now, one of the other little things that popped into my head about this, in that time scale, it looks a little bit different, guys. When I had this on the 1 hour time scale? Yeah, the 1 hour time scale. These bars are down to zero. And invariably when it comes to zero, well, not invariably, because there's one that came to zero and didn't go short. But often when it comes to zero, you end up with a drawdown, guys. Although some of these they're not all that big. So it's another thing to me that's just pointing to this potentially dropping. Nikkei. Tokyo Olympics are on at the moment, guys. Pretty good show. All of Europe's red today. Just looking at Bloomberg here, guys. Ten-year German bond yield is down. Okay. Yeah, listen, the reason I'm not saying anything about this is because, listen, technically it looks like it wants to break out. But if the American markets are going to drop, and I don't know that they are, but if they are going to drop, then obviously this will drop along with them, guys. And the UK is the same. We're looking for a drop down there again. To potentially, there's still some bargains in the UK markets, folks. French, yeah, I'd expect maybe a bit of downside to that. German, probably the same. Maybe it's reached its zenith for the meantime as it runs flat. Chinese, we've talked about. Is today the day it starts to recover? Quite possibly, guys. Aussie has put in a new high, come back down again. Wouldn't be surprised if we got something like that before it continues on up. And the Russell is still running flat. Now, I just want to explain that to you. That isn't me saying that I think it's going to do that. That's me saying, well, if prices come down to there, they'd be a lot more interesting than where it's been running flat. So I don't know that that's going to happen, guys. But if it did happen, then you could potentially find some good value in the Russell 2000 if you're in a position to trade them. I'm not in eToro anyway. Our old pal, the dollar. For me, it still looks like it wants to drop, but it's pushing up. I've got short into it again, guys. I'm a glutton for punishment. One of these days, I'm going to catch this dollar in the right direction. We'll have to see what happens. Tomorrow will be a big day for DXY, folks, because it'll either push right up, give us that one, but even from there, I think there's a downside to the dollar. But it'll either push up or it'll drop like a stone. So I'll be watching very, very closely tomorrow. And if it's the danger is with announcements is that you often get this situation whereby price is there, and then as the news comes out and the press conference starts, price starts doing something like that. The candle's going up and up, and everybody jumps in. Oh, the dollar's going long. Or you get out because you were short here, and the next thing you know, it does that. So it's a very, very, it doesn't happen all the time, guys, but it does happen enough for me to be very wary of trying to trade the news on just the news in general, news and announcements, as it were, as opposed to news about a company, a company's profits or something like that. That's a different thing to major economic news, guys. And then the euro dollar, well, we know what the story is here. This will go in the opposite direction to DXY. So for me, it looks like it wants to go long technically, which is the reason why I'm trying to short the dollar. But it'll all depend what the Fed says tomorrow, folks. Pound. I was looking for a little setup there to maybe trade that long. I'll tell you something, guys. Currencies are tough. Well, they're tough at the moment. There are times when currencies are easy enough to trade, but they're tough on a daily basis to try and catch the right thing, which is the reason why I've become so conservative with them, guys. Aussie US yet again looks like it wants to go long, but it depends on the Fed tomorrow. Same with that one. Not going to change my mind on those. This one looks like it wants to come short, but yet again, it'll depend on the Fed. I think the dollar, if it wasn't for this current situation, the dollar would be a lot lower than what it is. It's only because it's the best of a bad bunch that it's at the value that it is. But really, when you consider how much money's being printed, guys, the real value of the dollar is a lot lower than what it is at the moment. That's why I keep that and the technical aspect of it's the reason why I keep tending towards trying to short it. And at the moment, you're not going to get any better than that, guys. You will get people who say, hey, yeah, the dollar's going short, trade it short. But I will never say that to you guys. Not because I'm not confident in my abilities, but because it's just stupid. Because nobody knows to that degree of certainty what's going to happen. Okay. So I took this trade short yesterday. It's gone long on me, but I just get the feeling this is going to drop. Yen, just leave it alone, because if the stock market's drop, the yen will go long. Hold on. Yeah, you just leave that one alone. US Swiss, looking for this to drop. China, nice little move up in China there. Oh, against China. Sorry. That's a move against the yuan. And that'll because of money moving out of the country, guys. Because of the sell-off in the stock market. But I don't think that's sustainable. Gold, still waiting for it to give us something, guys. Potentially with one of those setting up. I can't put any more money into it. I've got about 10% of the account in gold, guys. So I don't need it to move very far to get into a profit, because I started buying here because I thought this was going to be a continuation of that move. And we did make money the whole way up through there. So it's only from here that we got it wrong. And then I just added the positions down here. So this just needs to move up to that position for us to make good money, and then make the decision: do you set your stops at 0 and let it continue on up? And if inflation's going to continue the way it is, in other words, if it isn't transitory, then surely there has to be upside to gold, guys. Just trying to put a channel on this. Do you put it to there? Don't think so. I suspect that correction finished here, and this is the start of the next structure, which could obviously run flat for a while, but I would love to see it continuing on up. And silver's the same attitude with silver. There could be a little bit more downside, but I do think it'll stay in this flat correction in the short term or medium term, and possibly break out long later on when the dollar starts to fall, folks. Bitcoin. Now, this was the other story we wanted to talk about. I think I mentioned it yesterday. Yeah, we did, because we drew that. Price was up here somewhere yesterday. And I said, listen, this will come off because you'll get profit taking. And part of the reason it shot up so high was a bit of a short squeeze, guys, where people who were short had to buy Bitcoin to cover the short positions, and then that pushes it up. And then what you get is you get a move back down. And if you don't know about short squeezes, guys, just trying to think where I have it. Let's go to let me pause you to find this. It's okay. There's it down there. There's that was a short squeeze, guys. GameStop. Do you remember the whole debacle about GameStop? And by the way back I drew that, because that's how these things run. Now I know that would come up and kind of give us a little not double top, but you know what I mean, came up to the same level. But generally speaking, when you get something like that, you get a big impulse, it drops. You get another go at it, it drops. And then you get another go and it drops, and then it'll stay down there for a long time until it starts to behave like a normal share, and maybe it comes up again. But that pattern's well known, guys, and I drew that. I can't remember when I drew that, but I drew it a while back, guys. Just saying that what I thought would happen with it. Now, you can see I didn't get it exactly right, but you never will. But it's a general pattern. So that's a short squeeze, guys. And it's basically where enough people or a big enough company starts to buy against the shorts, and then the shorts start to panic because they've got to cover their margins. They don't have the money to cover their margins, so they then have to start to buy the stock back, because you borrow, if you're short selling, you borrow the stock of someone who owns it. And then you have to, whenever you close the trade, you've got to buy the stock. So whenever you get a short squeeze going on, there, you know, the further up it goes, the more people have to sell it, or to close a position as opposed to sell it. And therefore they have to buy it to close the position, and that's what pushes it up. And then you get all the profit taken, guys. And down it comes again. And then another one, and then down it came, and then you get another one, and down it came. And then by that time, everyone's exhausted, and then it starts to behave like a normal stock. Okay, so just going back to where we were. Gold, Bitcoin, Bitcoin. So same thing with this, only on a much smaller time scale, or much smaller scale. Remembering where this got to before, but I've been looking for maybe something like that on a smaller time scale, guys. So in other words, this could, over the next week or so, do something like that, and then maybe we get a breakout off it. But if you think about how long it was in the winter for after the last big move up, that was the massive move, and when everybody and their dog was talking about Bitcoin. Remember when it went? I thought it went to 20,000. No, that was the last big move up. I can remember being down here and looking at it and going, I'm not. I remember it being in there, going, I'm not interested. It was at 9,000. Next thing it did that, guys. Not that I'd have been in it the whole way up, guys. I'd have chickened out somewhere, somewhere around here, taking my profit. But the point I was making there, is that it there, is that you got the big move up and then slowly but surely it dropped. and I'll not do the exact same thing, but look at that one. See that spike? And look what it did after it, guys. So I'm not saying this will definitely do that, but you have to be aware that it could possibly, that spike could possibly end up doing something like that and then running around in here for a while until we get our next big move up. I do think that Bitcoin will eventually take off again, guys, but it's how long are you going to wait for it? So I didn't. I took my profit. But 23% in 2 or 3 days wasn't bad. It was a week. Yeah, a week. 23% a week wasn't bad. And it managed to save the week in that we end up with a very small profit for the last 7 days because of all the little bits that we dumped over the 7 days. So it covered us. Okay, let's get on with it. Right, we'll just run through the rest of them here, guys, because I've no big ideas on what's happening. Oil's come back up. I think oil'll stay up there. Euro CAD. Well, yet again, this will depend on the dollar. If the dollar goes long tomorrow, this will go short. And vice versa. Euro Oz, same thing. Looking for a better downside to it. Not going to trade any of these guys. Euro New Zealand. Well, I'm kind of pointing that direction up. But this won't move in the opposite direction to the Euro Oz, guys. So if that's going to drop, then the New Zealand will drop. But it makes me think, well, the New Zealand already has dropped. And I'm potentially looking for upside to that. Therefore, you should potentially be looking for upside to that. But I don't have enough on it to want to trade it. Euro Yen. All these are, guys, is you're looking at the structure and you're going, given that structure, this looks more probable that it's going to break out long. So other than that, I'm not saying anything about that because I don't know. Euro Swiss. There could be more downside to it. Eventually, I think it will come long, but I don't think today or tomorrow is the day to do it. Pound CAD. Don't know anything about that. Pound Oz. Looks like it needs to come down, guys. So I wouldn't get involved in this until it came down to there. And I'm not saying it even would if it did come down. I'm just saying that structurally you don't want to be buying in up there. And if you're in there, what do? Well, I don't know where you'd have got in. Let's say you get in here somewhere. Put your stop to zero and hope that it continues on up. Or if you've managed to trade through that with a high leverage, take your profit. Other than that, I would wait for some sort of drop and not necessarily get all the way back down to there, guys. And then look to see if the trend's going to continue, then trade it from there, guys. That's just a pure technical trade. There's no other reason for that other than that's the trend that it's in at the moment. Pound New Zealand, same thing. It's already moved long, guys. We were looking for it to drop. I don't know what those scribbles are. We were looking for it to come back into trend and then start to push up. So if you're already in it, great. If you're not in it, I wouldn't buy into it there. Pound Swiss. I bought into this one yesterday. Just to see if it'll come back up to the top there. If it comes back up to there, I'll have made 5, 6, 7, 8%. I'll take it. Pound Euro. Oh, just on the pound, guys, the reason the pound's going long is that the Delta variant is still battering the UK, but not to the extent that the fears were. In other words, the actual numbers are dropping, but they're dropping from a high place. And the numbers of hospitalizations are going up, but not at the rate that they did last year. So we talked about it yesterday. We said we'll keep our eye on it for the rest of this week and next week. And if it turns out that the numbers start to drop again, then you'll see the pound continue to push up. And possibly that will be good for the United States as well, because they will be keeping an eye on that, folks. And obviously, if it goes the opposite way, that'll not be good. Pound yen, yeah, I'd like to see a bit more downside to that before potentially trading it long. Aussie yen, looks to me like it needs to come long. I don't know if today's the day to do it. Is there an ending diagonal there? Quite possibly. It's starting to push up. Am I going to be brave enough to trade that after getting dumped there? That didn't take long to get that one wrong. It's really annoying when that happens, guys. You know, the very day, and it happens a lot. So it's not just, it's not just you that this happens to. Often you'll open something in the 180-degree wrong direction, almost to the day or the hour or the minute that it decides to go off in the opposite direction. And it happens to everyone, guys, so don't think it's just you. The reason I went long there was because I had this structure and it had come back down. We fibbed it. It came back down to 78.6. It had started to move long, and I thought, well, there has to be a little move at least to there and possibly back up to the top there. And the day after I bought it, it did that, and then I stopped myself out. Now, I don't know if stopping myself out was the best plan, because this now looks like it wants to come long. But I don't like letting these things run too much, guys, because the stress that it causes you if it continues to go. And then every morning you get up, it's gone and gone and gone. And then you get another one of those, and then you're just in a mess. Psychologically, you're in a mess. So when I get 10% in the wrong direction, guys, I'm out. I'm gone. Aussie Swiss. Let's see what happens to gold, guys. If gold continues to drop, then there is a good chance that this will go up. Reason being 25% of the Swiss franc is, backed up by gold. So it tends to move with the gold price. But if you were looking at that chart on its own, you'd certainly say this is due a nice move up. So if that's enough for you, then you could take that. But it's not enough for me at the minute. This is running flat. I don't want to touch it. I never trade that pair, guys, because I don't have an angle on the two of them against each other. Swiss yen, running flat. If it came to the bottom, maybe you try and trade it back up. Maybe you take it from the top to the bottom. I don't know. I'm not doing it. CAD Swiss. Now, this is one of my favorites, guys. If it came down a little bit more, I could well take a trade on that. I have a 100% record in this, getting it right. They weren't all great profits, guys, but at no point did we get any of these wrong. But having said that, I was trading it up through there, guys. And I knew it was in the channel, so every time it dropped, we get into it. Every time it dropped, we get into it. Obviously, sometimes we get in at the wrong place, but we rode through it and came back into positive territory. But that was off the back of the huge drop that we'd had during the pandemic. And I just said, well, the CAD's oversold. Do you remember oil went below, something like $35 below zero? It cost you $35 to have a barrel of oil. That's when this fell like a stone. And I said, well, obviously the demand for oil is going to come back up again. That was something to do with the contracts all closing, and nobody wanted it. So so from there, the CAD started to recover. And then we had this tricky little bit, and then once it came down there again, I said, okay. So we traded it all the way through there, and traded without any worries, guys. But we're not. There's nothing at the minute that I feel that way about. So I'm just being cautious. CAD yen, possibly upside to that as well, guys. New Zealand yen, possibly upside to that. New Zealand CAD, different story, and we'll leave that one alone. And New Zealand Swiss, yeah, possibly long there, but we'll keep an eye on the gold price, because if the gold price goes long, then the Swiss will. They're all tied together, guys. They don't all react in the way that, it's not like painting by numbers, but generally speaking, if money comes out of the stock market and goes somewhere safe, and that safety place could be in the bonds, some will be in the gold, some will be in the cash, dollar, yen, Swiss franc, and maybe in the Bitcoin. But it's not just, well, that's definitely what's going to happen. But generally speaking, that's what kind of happens when the stock markets start to crash. So, well, correct, should I say. Crash is a different thing. When things crash, then everything goes. Okay, that'll do for the day, guys. Nothing necessarily decisive there. But remember, this isn't about, hey, here's a great trade. This is about helping you guys see the thought process that you've got to go through day in, day out, week in, week out, to try and find good trading opportunities, and to also teach you that it's okay not to see a trade, and it's okay to just go, do you know what, I don't know what's going on there. That's all right, guys. It's okay. You don't have to know what's going on everywhere all the time. Okay, that'll do for the day. Speak to you all again tomorrow. I'll get that little China video out later today. Bye for now.